is Ari Patel, and I'm part of a social media group called PCEP Self-Criticism, and today we're with Miss Lee. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Erin Lee. I teach AP World History and AP Psychology here at Canton.
Would you say self-esteem is an important or prominent issue in high school? If so, why do you think self-esteem affects high schoolers so much?
Definitely is an important issue. It's part of growing up, right? When you talk about high school students and the journey that they're on throughout high school, throughout those 4 years, they're trying to figure out who they are. And it's really hard when you're going through adolescence. You've got a lot of hormonal changes happening during those puberty years. And so figuring out what you want and who you want to be is part of that journey. That being said, the people around you are really important too. And they're really important for your self-esteem. So whether or not you surround yourself with people who are building you up or people who you're trying to maybe emulate, and then you never feel quite satisfied enough. And so I think that's a thing that I watch young people do, is trying to struggle through that, kind of through that process, I guess, and trying to find themselves. But absolutely important, especially for young females.
Yeah, totally. What's one good piece of advice you would give to students struggling with self-esteem?
It's about you, right? Self-esteem is what you believe and what you think of yourself. And so trying to drown out the noise, whoever's around you. Sometimes it can be really positive, but sometimes it can be rough, and especially in an age of social media. Social media can be great for people. It shows you some techniques, right? You can get a quick little step on deep breathing, like how to do that exercise or how to do some meditation, but it can also be negative in the fact that it almost like you're judging yourself against other people, probably a standard that is not actually real, and so it can be hard for that. So kind of focusing on you and drowning out some of that noise around you, I think is the best piece of advice I could give.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to block out noise.
You're surrounded by it and you're bombarded by it constantly.
Yeah.
And I think because you guys always have a phone in your hand or very close to your hand, it's always right there.
Yeah.
And nothing happens at school that you then leave at school. So if something happens during the day, you take it home with you because your phone keeps going off, right?
Exactly. A lot of times students find it hard to relate to teachers. Do you have any personal stories on how you've helped or maybe made a difference in a student's mental health or self-esteem?
Well, it's always our goal. Hopefully we've done that a lot. But a couple stories come to mind when we talk about that. Again, I think young females, it's a little bit harder of a struggle. Guys seem to be able to fit in easily with each other, even if it's more of a facade. Girls, I feel like, can struggle a little bit more. And so through a bunch of the leadership pieces that we do within Congress, or I've done within the National Honor Society, or even just when I did student government, getting to mentor young women is really my huge passion. Men too, but young women especially. When it comes to self-esteem, being okay to speak up is tough. And so kind of giving them some of those tools to make sure that their voice is heard, that in a room of maybe even upperclassmen, maybe it's a freshman, like allowing that person to still have their voice heard is important.
Yeah.
So definitely through Congress, we do a lot of that. In class, I think it's just kind of varying up how we get participation. So whether it's like calling on people, some people don't like that, right? That can be really intimidating. So kind of creating some of the writing or letting people do free response questions. Do I see what they actually know or think or feel? So feedback is always important.
Yeah.
For me.
What is the best piece of advice you have heard regarding self-esteem, or the best thing you've learned regarding self-esteem?
I go back to drown out the noise. So that was the best thing somebody told me once, is that whatever is going on around you is what's going on around you. Sometimes you can't control it, and really understanding what you can and can't control. You can control your response to something, but you can't necessarily control the environment. So whether that be the political world that we're living in, whether it be friendship groups, whether you're struggling with a particular friend or a particular class or teacher, drowning out the noise and kind of focusing on you. What do I need to do? So sometimes that's prioritizing your list, but also prioritizing yourself. And so whether that be taking a few minutes to read, I have to do that sometimes myself. Like, I want to read a fun book. I'm not going to read a school book right now or grade some papers. And sharing that with my students. Like, here's what I do. What do you want to do? And I think that's how we build better relationships too.
That's very true. You can't control what happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you can control how you respond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap this interview up, many students at PCEP struggle with self-esteem issues, whether that be in relation to grades or to sports. Where would you direct students who struggle with self-esteem?
I think having an understanding of yourself is important, right? What do you want? And I understand the pressure of going to college, going to the right college, getting the right AP score, the right grade in some of these classes, that's a ton of pressure. But a lot of times that's pressure that doesn't necessarily have to be there, right? And I'm not saying go get, an E or a D or whatever. I'm saying that sometimes the giant list of things that somebody might be involved in, focus on a couple. Admissions officers even tell us that. We don't want to see somebody who has this giant list of extracurriculars. We want to know that you spent time and actually were participating in something like a passion project. So stick with something. I think that's more important than creating this giant list, which just sucks away your time. You guys don't have enough time in the day to do all the things you want to do. So I think, and I've gotten off a little bit, but I think kind of figuring out what it is that you really want, which school do you want to go to, what does it mean to get into that, and then working towards what works for you, not everybody else, and maybe this comparison that we have sometimes in the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Does that
Thank
answer the
you.
question? Okay.